give it up for Kylie Bittler, Melody Timberlake, and Perry Ann Cantrell.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I am Perry Ann, and these are my girls. This is Kylie, and this is Melody, and these are just some of my grandbabies. I have Carter, he's my oldest, and then Cohen, and then she's my first baby girl. This is Sylvie Ann. You know, their health is a lot different than it was for their parents, my kids' health. In fact, it was a lot different than it's a lot different than my own health. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't eat so good. You know, okay, I lost my train of thought. I was very picky. I never really ate fruits and vegetables, and my mama was a single mom, a single parent, so my sister did a lot of the cooking. And I remember a lot of nights of spaghetti. And my favorite, you know, food was potato chips and candy. Kind of still is, but I've learned to stay away from the candy. I still have trouble with the chips. My husband can attest to that fact. So I really didn't have knowledge of good food when I was a kid. I didn't know anything about nutrition, of course. And when I was a mom, I raised, I guess, my kids kind of the same way. I really didn't know how to do anything different, you know, from what you'd see on TV. You know, we grew up in the food package type of food, and, you know, we ate our favorites, spaghetti with ragu, and I did lots of mac and cheese, and my son's favorite was Hamburger Helper. I mean, who didn't love Hamburger Helper, right? I always tried to give them vegetables. Granted, it came from a can, but I tried to make sure they had their veggies. I don't think I was probably giving them the right knowledge, you know, to go about eating food. When my youngest son was about 7, he got diagnosed with ADHD and got put on medication. And that medication didn't make him feel really good, and he wouldn't eat. So the only thing he wanted to eat was hot dogs and mustard. So like a good mom, I would go to school every day with his hot dog and his mustard, just so I know he ate that day. And then my older son, Corey, when he was about 14, I think, he got really, really sick, and we took him to like 3 doctors, and finally found out he had Crohn's. And I'm like, Crohn's? How does he get Crohn's? I mean, I didn't know anything about Crohn's. And, you know, there was nobody in my family with Crohn's. And the doctor says, well, it's probably an environmental condition. Something environmental happened. I'm like, how could the environment make my son sick? And I didn't understand that. And of course, you know, I don't think they really explained a whole lot to me about that. But, you know, we fast forward about 16 years, and my son with Crohn's is really sick. He's depressed because he's sick. And he's just very unhappy with life. And that really worried me. And he was like 105 pounds. And to me, he was just a walking skeleton with skin. He never really hung out with us. He was always down in his room playing video games and whatnot. And my hot dog loving son, who was about 20, he had cholesterol over 400. And I'm like, he's 20 years old. How does that happen? And did I change really the way we ate? Not really. Was food to blame? Maybe. My husband and I, we were both overweight, and we had our cholesterol and our health issues, but I thought I was healthy, and I thought I was feeding my kids the right way. And now I think about these guys and their health.
So I'm Kylie Bittler, and as my mom said, my boys were the first grandchildren. So I fed them exactly what I was fed growing up. But I took it a step further. I'm going to fall off if you don't scoot over. Okay, so I was this crazy couponing mom. You know the types, they go into the grocery stores with those huge binders and they're taking forever at the checkout line? That was me. Every Sunday I got as many newspapers as I possibly could carry so that I had 1,000 of the same coupon. Because I went to Kroger and Publix and Aldi's and Walgreens to get the best deal. So yes, my family ate any and everything that came out of a package because it was cheap and because it was easy. And then my youngest, Cohen, got his first ear infection at 9 months old, and then another, and then another. He began an antibiotic journey at 9 months old. We continued on that journey for about 2 years with no change in the fluid or infection in his ears. So we had to move to the next step in Western medicine, ear tube surgeries. Yeah, a lot of fun. He had 2 ear tube surgeries with an additional procedure to remove his adenoids because the ENT said that would help promote drainage. That course was a 2-year-long course, and we spent a lot of money on specialty doctor visits and prescription drugs to keep his ear tubes pain. You see, I hadn't changed my whole couponing crazy eating style, and Cohen still had ear infections even with the ear tubes. Thankfully, Jesus opened my eyes to question this path, and when it was time for Cohen's 3rd set of ear tubes, I asked his doctor, is there something else we can do? And he looked at me and he said, sometimes kids have ear tubes until they're 13. And I said, no thank you, I'm going to get a second opinion. We began to see a pediatric chiropractor, the awesome Dr. Melissa, who said, why don't you look at your diet? And I said, oh, okay. So I started Googling the recipes that she said, go gluten, dairy, and refined sugar-free. And I started to see that there was a correlation between what I was feeding my children was causing their health outcomes. Didn't fully connect, but for 10 months, we did pretty good on dairy, gluten, and sugar-free. And then I started to sneak back in some of our family favorites, fettuccine alfredo, white spaghetti, dairy ice cream a few nights a week, and sure enough, in prime cold and flu season, Cohen got another ear infection. This time he didn't have the ear tubes to drain it, so I took him back to the pediatrician's office. He knew his history, so he immediately pulled out the big guns and put Cohen on the strongest oral antibiotic, Suprax, for 5 days. After 5 days, he was no better. We were back in the doctor's office, and the doctor looked at me and said, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, my baby is sick. He's had 103-degree fever for 5 days, and it's my fault he doesn't have the tubes to clear the infection. So the doctor started him on Rocephin injections in his legs. On the way home from the doctor's office visit that day, his eardrum ruptured. And I was desperate for an answer. And that night, my angel, Steph Smith, posted on Facebook about a healthy living party discussing whole food nutrition in a capsule. I said, sign me up. And I went with the intention of getting Juice Plus in Cohen's body, but I walked away getting Juice Plus for me and my husband, children's health studies for both my boys, and of course shakes too. Kimberly Warlow shared just an ounce of the nutrition of the science behind Juice Plus that night. My nurse brain went into overdrive. I began to read and research all the studies that Juice Plus had done, and that correlation came right back around. I started to see there was a link between what I was feeding my children and their health outcomes. But you see, I wasn't perfect. I couldn't keep every single ounce of dairy out of Cohen's diet. And it wasn't about what I was keeping out of his diet that was the problem. It was what I was not putting in his diet. So I started to connect the dots between my health journey and the food that I was eating. I'm a little bit of a slow learner, so I did some crazy diets first. I was autoimmune protocol for a while, followed that crazy diet. I was paleo for a good amount of time. Love all you paleo people out there, it's a lot of fun. And then I did a very strict elimination diet for 60 days. None of those helped my chronic bloating, bowel bowel irregularity, nausea, gas, acne, none of that helped. It wasn't until I started flooding my body with the phytonutrients found in Juice Plus, drinking 2 shakes a day. I continued to eat whole foods, drink more water, sleep more, and in 1 week, my skin was clear. My bloating was gone, and my bowels were regular. I completely believe that flooding my body with phytonutrients has regenerated and healed my gut tissues because I no longer have nausea and gas. And even better, my little Cohen has been ear infection free for 2.5 years. We only go to the doctors now for well visits. As an ICU stroke nurse, too often I see lifestyle choices impact health beyond what our intelligent medical advances can cure. That is why I love this quote by Benjamin Franklin. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I know that my mama agrees with that statement, don't you, Mom?
Because of what she learned, she taught me, the person that probably should have had this information first, but she's a good researcher. And I'm just so thankful because I now understand how important food is and food choice and the power of nutrition. I'm thankful that she found Juice Plus because it changed my family's life. We, within the first 6 months of taking Juice Plus, my son Corey, who's here, he's over there, he's my poster child. He gained 40 pounds. I know a lot of people want to lose weight, but for him, that was huge. That food he was putting in his body was healing his body, and it was healing his mind. He wasn't depressed anymore. His mood was so different. It was night and day. I just can't believe what a difference this has done for his life. I mean, he's just a different person. He's happy. He hangs out with us. He watches the kids sometimes because he's always asked to. But and my high cholesterol son, his cholesterol went down. And, more importantly, he understands, too, the importance of food. And, he's at college, and he does a lot of his own cooking, and he's incorporating vegetables into his food. We went out to lunch the other day. We got burgers, and he's like, Mom, I'm putting onions on my burger now. I'm like, oh, really? He goes, yeah, I'm trying to put more vegetables in my diet. I'm like, right, you eat green vegetables. Some lettuce on it, but we haven't got there yet. He does eat pickles, but he drinks more water and less soda, so that's good. My husband and I, we both lost weight, and, we're healthier, and I think that is amazing. And now I would like you to hear a little bit from this girl here and my granddaughter, Sylvianne.
She did want to say something, so do you want to say something in the microphone? No. She's a little gun shy, but trust me, you get her out talking and she's like her mom. She doesn't stop. Okay, so as you have heard, 2 years ago in my family's life, we had a health crisis. It was kind of crazy, but my health of my kids was on a downward spiral, spinning rapidly out of control. Sylvianne, who was 2, and my son Tim, who's not here, was 5 months old, and they were inseparable. But with the cost of hugs comes the cost of germs. And my son, who was breastfed, was doing really well. He'd get minor, fevers and, the rarer cases of everything. Whereas Sylvianne, everything that he gave her, it was pretty much times 4. Sylvianne, when she was the only child, she didn't get sick. I mean, she was very healthy, maybe a couple colds here and there, but her first real instance was Thanksgiving of 2013, when we actually spent Thanksgiving Day at the ER because she had her first ear infection. I had dinner at my house, so really my family took over and cooked for me. But anyways, so in February of 2014, Sylvie Ann got one of Tim's germs, and it really just grew huge, and it caused Sylvie Ann to actually contract croup and RSV at the same time. For 5 days, I watched my daughter lay around the house, and she was very lethargic. I had just had my son that year, and as a teacher, you get 10 paid days a year to take off. And I had used those when I had Tim, because he was delivered at the very beginning of the school year. So I had no days left, so I was being, taking off with time that I could not spare, cash-wise. So Mom helped out a lot, but on that 5th day, I just knew something was wrong, and I took her to Summit, and her O2 levels were at 88%. And Jay told us that she needed to be rushed to Vanderbilt, where she then went under 3 rounds of steroids, and her frail little body and the amount of steroids they were putting in her system were just, it was too much. She would thrash her body against the crib that they put her in. She would nail you and cause Mom and I both to bleed on our arms. And I would sit outside of her room in tears because there was nothing I could do, nothing. I wondered if what I was feeding my kids would cause that, and it did. It's funny because you can see the day that we left the hospital, and on her bed table that we were leaving was Cheetos. So I was still feeding my kid what I thought would be okay. She'd eat Cheetos, it's okay. We can get that in her body. Finally, I got home 2 months later. My sister, who had been on Juice Plus for about 6 months, invited me to a healthy living party at Steph Smith's house. Man, that place is powerful. We need to have some more parties over there. And let me tell you what I learned there was the biggest takeaway ever, the power that fruits and vegetables can do for your body. And, prior to being hospitalized, my kids, what I was feeding them, it was killing their immune system. It was weakening their own body's army to be able to fight off even the simplest of bugs. Now, not only did I see the power of fruits and vegetables, but I also saw the vision of this amazing company. For the longest time, I've had this burning desire in my heart to do something amazing. I knew, my mom did too, but when I was born, I was created to do something awesome. And God had designed me to do something more than just live day in and day out doing the same rhetorical thing, not doing anything for anybody else. I have a servant heart, and in this job, I get to do what I have been born to do, what I was created to do. So, this company has given me that, and I think if I look back at it, God had given me a really good, strong why, and He led me to that will in order to change my life forever. I used to think being sick was normal, and I just grew conditioned to the fact that, my kids will be sick from October until March. It's great, no worries, they're fine, we'll get through it. $3,000 later, no worries, it's all right. I don't need to change anything. I can proudly stand here today and tell you that my daughter and my son and my newest baby, 6 months old, we only go to the doctors for well visits now. It's powerful. It's powerful. And that's not only our story, it's everybody's. It's amazing. So I get to help out those take control of their lives, and I give them the options of improving their quality of life. Now, who wouldn't love that? My mom, who lost 20 pounds, she gets to chase after her grandbabies. My stepdad, my brother, cholesterol lowered, and my brother Corey, that just gets my heart ready. My brother Corey, who used to be dark, depressed, has now turned into this vibrant, full of life brother that is back. That is back. That's the kid I used to grow up with. Now that's not the icing on the cake. 18
18 years working since I was 15. As a teacher, I gave 80% to my students, and my kids would get 20. That's all I had left for them. Every night I got home, I was tired, I was stressed, I was under so much pressure for getting kids' scores to be amazing. Now, after 18 plus years, I get to stay home, and I watched my youngest daughter, after missing many Miss Mom moments with the first two, roll over for the first time. And on top of that, I found her first tooth yesterday. Not the healthcare people or my mom or the daycare workers that found theirs, but I got to feel it. And I was like, Mom, look. She was like, she has a tooth. I'm like, I told you. You didn't tell me.
Oh man, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what life is all about. If you choose a life that doesn't allow you to pursue your passion from wherever you are, it doesn't matter how much money you make, how hard you work, how many people you impress, how many titles you get. We've all been called to do something more amazing. We've all been called to do more than just checking things off of a list. 2 years ago, I had a burning desire to live and to do more things intentionally. And I now know what that looks like. I trusted, and I took the first step, and then the second, and the third. And I also have to give a shout out to my tribe out in this crowd, because you all walked alongside of me. And wow, this amazing community filled with like-minded individuals with all amazing natural gifts. You believed not only in me, but you trusted me to live out this mission with you. And to Kimberly, 2.5 years ago, for posting that evening how awesome my future was going to be. So I ask you, do you have a desire bigger than yourself, bigger than your family, this community, this world? If so, this desire is the beginning of leaving a legacy. Kurt Beavers once said, realizing we're on the wrong track, even if we're not sure what the right one is the first step towards making a life. So to close, go out there and live with joy. Live out your passion and experience that peace that overcomes you because you took a chance. I'm glad that I did, because now I get to work alongside some awesome team filled with amazing leaders, including my mom and my sister. This is the new future of leaving a legacy. We are the new normal.
Wow.
There you go.
Truly awesome to get a picture of the lives that are being transformed.